I'm sitting in the lounge using my mobile phone. I was doing it when suddenly my maid came to me. I stood there questioning. When I looked at her with my eyes, she immediately hesitated and said, Begum Sahib, I need to tell you something important. I nodded. She moved and was looking towards me. She said, Tell me what's the matter, maid. Enough is enough. The color of her face looked worried. She was telling me a lot. Suddenly, while watching, she sat at my feet. She was gone, and my hand was on my knee. I was saying while holding it, I know you. She loves her husband very much, but I'm just going to tell you that. It's not a lie. It's true, and I'm telling you. Never lie because you have my back. So I was surprised that there was so little. I had seen my maid from before. What about my husband? I want to talk. I'll say something now. The doorbell of our house had rung before. I looked at the door when suddenly she stood up and said, Sir, I will talk to you later tonight. She shook her head slightly and took off her dupatta to open the door by turning it to one side. I had already walked outside and opened the door. When I opened it, my husband was standing in front of me. They were looking at me with loving eyes. I went inside and closed the door. I don't know why I was hired. It seemed strange. Suddenly, his ego and talking about my husband made me feel something. It didn't feel right, so I went inside. So maid, give my husband a glass of water. I was sitting next to Shanawaz. Before I could say anything, his mobile phone started ringing. He immediately answered the phone and got up and went into the room. I had been away from my husband for a few days. I was feeling a lot of changes. We haven't been married for long, and that's why I ignored them. I was feeling very much like that now. Didn't spend much time late at night. They used to come and leave home early in the morning. I never tried to talk to them. Even then, she ignored me. They used to do these things. I don't know why. I felt suspicious and went into the kitchen. She went and found food for them. I was about to take out the food on the tray and had already moved towards her room. When I entered the room, she changed her clothes. They were smiling at me. It was empty, and he looked at me and said, I was actually going to a party right now. All my friends are coming. That's why I'm eating. I'll eat there. You take care of yourself. As soon as he said that, he patted my cheek. It was, and they had moved towards the side for a moment. A wave of anger ran through my entire being. I was completely taken aback by this behavior of my husband. I wouldn't have liked it if they had gone somewhere. If it was, they would have texted me first or called and told me what they had. That's why I worked so hard to prepare the food. Should I call them now? But they had left the house in a hurry to turn back. They didn't even bother to look. My eyes were starting to sparkle with moisture. He has been completely ignoring me for days. They were there, and this movement of theirs caught my eye. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was in the middle of the room. I was standing there thinking all this, when suddenly my maid had entered the room and said to me while taking the tray from my hand, I need to talk to you about this. Why is your husband so distant from you? I left, surprised by the maid. I saw how she was talking. Before I say anything to him in anger right now, he held my hands and would sit me on the sofa in the living room. Begum Sahib had said, I agree that I was talking about your house, but listen to me carefully for once. I know it's only for your benefit. Sir, you are a very good person and an excellent doctor. Yes, but for a few days now, my family has been with you. I am telling you something about my husband. He looked at the maid in surprise. A shadow passed over his face, which he could not hide from the eyes. He had deeply surrendered his breath to the air and hesitantly said, They were said to have been seen in the streets. I am looking at the maid with tearful eyes. I was watching this soft whisper of hers. China had taken away my Sikhism. I was in disbelief. I looked at the maid with questioning eyes. She said, What are you doing, brain? You're right. What nonsense you're talking about. I immediately stood up from my seat. I could bear everything, but who would say such a mean thing about your husband? Couldn't afford it even at the price. It was true that my husband had become a little careless, but this is what it means. I didn't believe what this woman said. I started to have such great doubts about my husband. He would do more while looking at me. I said, I'm not lying, my house. The guy is not lying. He has said that, sir, You have been seen in these streets. Where there are two number one women, you are one. Ask your husband sometime. Yes, but be careful not to mention my name. I'm only telling you because you are a very good woman and you have a kind heart. You are a woman. You have done so much for me. So it is my duty to help you too. Tell me what your husband does then. I'm getting angry after listening to the maid talk. I was sniffing at it with wide eyes. I was looking at his face to see what he would say. I was holding my head. It happened like this. My husband couldn't have been there for 5 hours. They were praying and helping people was their main goal. He was an excellent doctor considering his duty. And now, after listening to this maid, it's clear to me. Feeling like my life is leaving me, I was calling this maid by name with my eyes. She started to look and then slowly she kept telling me many things. After which, I had nothing to say. I didn't have this job for now. Was I sent from my room? The husband is still pretending to be at a get-together. I thought I had gone to this brothel. Tears started to flow from my eyes. For a moment, my heart yearned to be mine. I should pack my things and leave here. But then I thought that once my husband, let me test it and see if they are telling the truth. Are they real or are they lies? I'm sitting there thinking about all this. I sat there, time slowly passed by. My husband stayed home until 8 o'clock at night. I was going back, but it's 10 o'clock tonight. What kind of get-together was that? I wasn't even taking the name of being. I immediately took out my mobile phone and dialed their numbers. When I tried to call them, they cut my call. It was a tear in my eye. What was my husband trying to do? Get married now? How long had it been since this happened? Time and speed had become involved in the summer. He was passing by, and at 12 o'clock he went home. I didn't even sleep when I entered. I also thought that I would find out today. I'll just assume the maid is telling the truth. Or is there something wrong with his words? He is from home. As soon as I entered, I immediately was surprised and spoke in a questioning tone. What kind of rudeness is this? Why are you calling me? You were cutting time. Have you noticed what happened? My mind had wandered for a moment when they completely ignored me. He had come into the room and was taking off his shirt. While taking it off, I said, I told you so. Wasn't there a get-together with music there, etc.? I was talking to you. Listen, and I told you so. I'm going to the party. You're the one who's doing it for no reason. Saying this, she got into bed. I was lying down while, for some reason, my mind was having strange thoughts. I had some. She sat down beside them, thinking, and spoke while placing her hand on his shoulder. Shanawaz, let me say one thing. My tone changes instantly. They looked at him with questioning eyes. I looked at my own tone. I knew what I was doing. I'm going. It's inappropriate, but I'm going. I was his wife. I had rights over her. I could do it. There's no shame in it. I was speechless, looking at them. It's been days since you came near me. I don't want to be loved at all. I hope you can give me some moments of solitude today. Oh my. Emotions were welling up in my eyes. I felt my husband immediately hold my hand. You will hold me and pull me to your chest. And then, in the rain of your love, they will drown me. But they have taken my hand in theirs. He had taken it off his shoulder and was looking at me. I was told I was very tired. You will do it sometime. You say, calm down now. They had just changed course when tears started to flow from my eyes. That means that the employee was right. The husband is not from a get-together, but from this. They were coming from the brothel ahead of him. I couldn't think of anything. I got up and went to the room. My heart was very sad when I left. I was like, what was happening to me? It was beyond comprehension. I immediately performed ablution. What happened and where did you sit to pray? I prostrated myself before Allah and asked Him. I was starting to wonder why this happened to me. I am faithful to my husband. I didn't look up to anyone. I saw my husband do this to me. Why does it take me so long to pray? She was sitting there crying and then suddenly, out of some emotion, I had just entered the room. I am now in the room. I was just inside when suddenly my husband's mobile phone was ringing. It was strange in my mind. There were rumors going around, so I jumped in immediately. He picked up his mobile and silently took out the mobile phone while putting it on silent. I looked at the clock and saw that it was 2 o'clock. Who was laughing at that moment? I was calling, thinking about something, so I picked up the phone. I had already put the phone to my ear by saying yes. A feminine voice was heard. Doctor sir, I know what time you will come in the morning, that this is not the time to ask this question. But I didn't feel like it. I thought, let me ask you about this woman. I felt like that when I heard that. It's like there's no blood in my body. It felt like the ground had disappeared from under my feet. That means I have so many things on me in one day. Mountains were about to collapse. I immediately turned off my mobile. It made tears flow from my eyes like a waterfall. My husband was really a woman. The thought of being involved with them made me gasp. I was kneeling down and immediately went inside the room. My heart was racing, so I was sleeping. I will kill my husband by grabbing his collar. I will ask them if they have been my friend. Why did they do this to me? What did they gain by doing all this? Why did you destroy life, but you don't know why? I stood there in complete silence. I was just staring at his face. Suddenly I had a plan in my mind. When they go to work tomorrow, I will follow them and see who it is. They go to the woman and ask, "Who is this woman?" Do they really go to these streets? Or then I go to another woman's house. I thought that tomorrow I would reveal the whole truth. I will stay. Then we will see what happens. Mobile, I put them on their side, by their side. I was half asleep when I heard that. My father explained to me at the time of marriage that, daughter, loving is not a sin, but look, take care and love if you are with this person. If you are not happy after marriage, you should. I will regret not helping you. You will find this person because you yourself, my husband and I are choosing. It was a marriage of choice. That's why The night was getting too light. I was melting drop by drop. I didn't sleep even for a moment. I once had the heart to tell my husband, I should wake them up and tell them that you have brought me to the truth. Please meet me, but I was silent because I want to see the truth with my own eyes. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly. It was bright. I woke up early. Freshened up, I hurried to my husband's house. They had pressed clothes, etc. for him to wear. I used to go to the hospital in the morning. Then I would go to the kitchen. I came today. I also asked the maid. I was given leave so that when I was with my husband, if I go back, there will be no one at home. I didn't have to face any problems. I quickly made breakfast for my husband, and Trace always came into the room. As they took a look at breakfast, and while looking at me, they said to me, "It's too late. I'm leaving. You take care of yourself and close the door well." Saying, "Shut up," he walked outside. As soon as they left, I immediately was wearing a cloak and was following behind them. I knew that I had left the house. I am doing something wrong. This behavior is inappropriate. If I want to know something, I can ask my husband, but at this time, my mind is obsessed with knowing only the truth. It was over. Did my husband cheat on me? Or was it just a fantasy of mine? I immediately stopped a rickshaw and sat in it, looking at her husband. Their car was driving very fast. My eyes were moving along the road at speed. I was crying repeatedly, which I didn't know. She was cleaning it painfully because she was crying. The purpose was only to torture myself and nothing else. No, the car had just driven a short distance when suddenly my husband turned the car to one side. I had made it to a small area. Surprised, she smashed her husband's car. I saw a rickshaw puller going towards the settlement. I immediately said, "Baji, there are too many holes ahead. I can't go further by taking a rickshaw." I was even more worried after hearing that, because my husband didn't stop the car. I was looking at him and I was talking. "I will give you more money. Please, now. Don't stop the rickshaw. It's my house's business rickshaw." The person had glanced at me through the glass and then quietly drive your rickshaw further. My husband had moved the car forward. He stopped and locked the car and got out. I was so scared that I ran into their car. I saw this area because I liked it a lot. It seemed deserted. I saw this rickshaw driver. She had given money to her husband and had taken her steps. I was pushed too far behind. I was getting nervous. I didn't know why. I didn't feel right. I suddenly felt like myself. I felt no shame at all about this move. I wonder what my husband thinks of me. I thought for a moment. I had stopped my feet. I thought, I'm going back home no matter what. I will ask my husband directly. Who is this woman calling you at 2 in the morning? And what the maid had said was also. I would put it in front of them and ask them. I also asked why you keep ignoring me. Why are you doing this? But subconsciously, my husband's footsteps were not stopping. He was thin and thin, walking through the streets, not knowing where you are going. I had no knowledge of anything. A brief after a distance, they came to a large door. I had stopped by the wall. She was watching her husband's every move. He knocked on the door first. The door of the house was open, and I, a middle-aged man, perfectly in line with his thinking. The woman came to open the door. Wasn't she watching everything from beyond the wall? I wonder what she talked to my husband about. That they entered the house in a panic. They accidentally opened the door too. My heart was not closed very tightly. I was pounding. Should I go inside? Or should I just turn away from the door? I should have thought of something strange in my mind. Thoughts were swirling for a moment. I thought I was leaving here. I don't know why I'm surrounded by danger now. It was really ringing. There were streets, many of them, from afar. Brothel houses were visible. I don't know why. The house also looked like a prostitute's house to me, because the big door belongs to those people. I had taken a deep breath and surrendered it to the wind. Whoever was inside was my husband, my mahram. Were the total asset of my life like this? Couldn't ignore her husband. Only a woman can build her own house, and only a woman can destroy her own home, I thought. I had decided that whatever happens will be seen. I will go inside and find out what is the husband doing here but me? I didn't know that after going inside, how much shame will you have to face, and will something come before my eyes? When I entered, there was a commotion all around. There was a large veranda outside the house. It was completely empty. There was a cot lying there. I had ignored everything. What was it? And the heart had moved inward. It was beating very loudly for a moment. So, I decided to return from here. But I had determined myself that if I will keep thinking about all this, so I will never go forward. I won't be able to get inside the house. I heard a feminine voice from the room. It was Ahi who was talking to my husband. Doctor, do something. Don't do anything. So I'm going to die. What will happen to me, doctor? Sir, I only have one child. The sound immediately had bumps on my forehead. It had moved inwards and the front. I almost lost my breath after seeing the scene. That woman was standing very close to my husband. It was over, and my husband was on a cot. They were checking up on a child who was sitting. I made something thoughtful inside the room. She had entered, and in a loud voice she said, "What is happening? Stand away." As soon as she heard my voice from my husband, that woman, I had drifted away. I don't know why I felt this way. It felt like my husband was getting married again. They have done it, but it was nothing like that. He looked at me in surprise, and Ikra had asked questions while you were here. I immediately went to them and hugged them. I was caught and asked what all this was about. It's a joke that you got married again, and this. He is your child. He spontaneously gave his. My hand was shaking from the collar, and he said with an angry look, "I was hoping that you would be so kind. You can only have stupid thoughts, and then what?" I listened to the truth they told me. I was on the verge of death from shame. My husband was building an institution where cancer patients are kept there, and they are being treated. This child also has cancer, was a patient of the same institution, and my husband. It belonged to me and my husband's, belonged to the institution itself and this woman. She was very poor, which is why I was forced to live on the streets last night. This woman called and told them this. I wanted the child's health to deteriorate day by day. She is becoming very worried. Her heart is troubled. I don't know what to do, but I did. It gave a different color to the matter for me. The husband who loved me so much in the beginning. They were always with me. That was also why they suddenly left. That they helped organize this institution. They were so engrossed that they even asked me. I wasn't worried. I was very sorry that my husband is going to do such a good deed. And I started to have so many dirty doubts about them. I immediately apologized to my husband. I asked for it, and my maid was fine too. It was said that when you know the real truth, if you don't know, then talk nonsense. There is no doubt in my heart. No need, my husband said. I would tell you everything, but I thought I would build an entire institution, and then I'll give you a surprise. But even before that, you are wrong about me. I started thinking, yes, he's not in the get-together. They used to go, but rather to hold big meetings. They were going to build this institution. I was able to raise a good amount of funds for I apologized profusely to my husband, and you also swore to support me. As much as it was happening, I was with myself. She was trying to help her husband, but I want to teach all these women a lesson. I am the one who has unfounded suspicions about my husband. They all need to get to the bottom of the truth. Not to be wrong about your husband. Thinking about your relationship with your husband. Please comment on this video, friends. We need your valuable feedback in the section. Let me know. And if you like the video and more. Subscribe to this channel to watch new videos like this. Please subscribe too. Thank you.